This is Susan Bradley for AskWoody.com, and this is Tasks for the Weekend, June 19th, 2021. Well, we had a heat spell where I live, and it's actually hit a record today, and I'm upstairs where if you hear a fan in the background, it's because I'm up here in this hot office that I have, and it reminds me that what's the best temperature for computers? And normally, if you're comfortable and not sweating, so is your computer. And if vents are clear, they can handle warm temperatures, actually much warmer than you think. But if they've got a lot of dust bunnies and things like that, you need to take a look at your machine and make sure it's well equipped to handle warm weather. iPhones in particular don't like direct hot sunlight. I accidentally one time had my phone sitting on just next to me in the car, and it happened to be where the sun was coming through the window, and literally it shut off when it got too hot. And once I cooled it back down again, it booted up just fine and was okay. But it just reminded me that hot weather is not good for technology. So again, if you're comfortable, it's comfortable. Now, what's the ideal CPU temperature? And you can actually check out the recommended ranges of temperatures with a specific hardware tool. So I'm going to show you what it's like. And the range on this is actually, it could go up to 145 degrees Fahrenheit or 63 degrees Celsius. Right now, as you can tell, it's a little bit warm up here because it's actually about 118, I think it is, up here on the CPU. It's not, fortunately, not that warm up here in the room, but obviously computer CPUs go up higher than that when they're running. So again, what can you do to cool it down or to monitor it? There's several things you can do. There's an excellent document I spotted out on the HP website that talked about how to reduce heat inside computers. And so one of the things you can do is you can increase the efficiency and actually look at the applications that are running and actually turn off some of those applications. Remember those the auto runs that we talked about the last couple of weeks? Use that tool to adjust what's starting up on your computer. Kind of monitor to see what's hogging that CPU. You want to let the computer cool down. Remember what I said about my iPhone? Same kind of thing, where let the devices cool down and they usually will boot back up just fine. You want to make sure that your computer fans are operational. So you should hear a slight sound, not only with laptops, but with especially with desktop computers, you should hear the sound of a fan. And if you don't hear that sound, if it suddenly becomes a little too quiet, then you know that you need to watch and open up the machine and potentially change out the fan. I've actually had desktop computers where the power supply has failed on me, and actually also the fan as well. I've actually had fans go. And the fan is relatively easy to change out. On the desktops, the power supply is a little bit harder depending on how small the unit is. So sometimes you have to really get in there and get your fingers a little bit cramped up while you're getting that power supply in there. Next thing you want to do is get what I call either the vacuum cleaner or compressed air can, and make sure that all of the vents and places on the outside of the computer are clean, so there's ventilation in on the computer. And then obviously move it to a cooler room. If it's warm where that computer is, move it to a place where it's cooler. Once upon a time when I was in college, they used to put the data centers in really cold, like 68 degrees. Computers are much more robust now, and they don't have to have that cold of locations. But again, if you're comfortable, it's comfortable. And then last but not least, an out-of-date BIOS may actually make the system a little bit warmer. So you want to, again, can't stress this enough, especially with Windows 10, keep monitoring those BIOS and driver updates. Last but not least, and I've only done this, honestly, when I built computers, not for ones that I purchased. But they do recommend that you may have to replace the thermal paste, and that's the paste that goes between where that CPU socket is and the motherboard. Again, I've only done it on machines where I'm building them. I've honestly never done it on a machine that I've gotten from a manufacturer. But that's some of the things that you can look through to see if to cool down your machine. And it's amazing how dust can build up inside of a computer, and it could cause overheating and damage. So make sure you get on the floor, especially if your desktop is sitting on the floor. Get down on that floor, check out those dust bunnies, and clear it out if need be. As always, have a great week. Newsletter comes out late on Sunday, early Monday morning. We're still on DEF CON 2. We're planning to change to DEF CON 4 unless something happens later on next week. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be sending out an alert when we do that. Until next time, this is Susan Bradley for AskWoody.com.